Z190 selector pawl. I'm going to change one today from the standard thin wool one with the retainer washer. They put this retainer washer on to stop it jumping past the star. But what we find is it also restricts the end float, making the gears a little bit notchy. So we're going to fit our uprated one. It's the thicker one with the kink further back compared to the original one. It just gives a little bit more strength. Same weight spring, and the only addition is we put a washer on the end of the selector star so that the dowels don't come out. You only need basic tools, some Loctite, a clutch tool, that's for undoing the centre nut, circlip pliers, a little probe I use, or you can use electrical screwdriver just to ease the gasket off, a 10mm, an 8mm, 17 for the sump plug, 5mm Allen key, some brake cleaner and an impact gun. Let's get the oil out of it first. I'm using air tools just to speed things up for the video. Pull the breather off so she'll come out. Got 2 bolts at the front on the starter motor. Pop those out. You can lay your bolts in order so you know how they go back in. Whiz out the clutch ones. And we've got a leaky airline. Wouldn't be a real workshop without it. Right, pull the bolts out. Good tip, leave that one on. It's a good identification. Use the clutch arm just to push the cover off carefully. And I use my little spiker tool to just run round, making sure that the gasket doesn't tear, because we're going to reuse it as it's a brand new engine. There we go, that's probably the bearing falling out, which it has. There's a shim that comes off the end of the kickstart shaft to stop it chewing its way into the case. That stays on there. Turn the cover out to drain. We're just going to undo the first of 4 clutch springs. Oh, undo 2 and then stage. We want to undo those fairly evenly. Just undoing 2 first and then stage the other 2 out so it doesn't break this plate. They can snap if you just unwind it unevenly. There we go. Right, rest that there. Clutch springs out. We use the large impact, undo the castellated centre nut. These are really tight. Sometimes worth grabbing it tight with a bit of rag just to slow it up and then undo it. So if I get that in undo mode. That wasn't too tight, that one. Washer, which is like a spring washer. Only get it out. Well, pull the clutch out, that's the easiest thing to do, like so. So put your washer with your nut. Now, often the clutch location shim here gets stuck to the back of the clutch, so just make sure you've got that. That's the thing with the 3 prongs on it. Then there's the lock thrust washer. Slide it out. Slide the clutch basket off. For checking the gears, these are all good. Our next job is take the kickstart idle gear out. That's where we can use some circlip pliers, like so. So there's a shim on the outside, which we just slide the gear off. And there's one on the inside too. With this install, with the selector pawl, we're going to put both on the inside. If you do that now, it's done and dusted. You can now take your selector pawl out, the original one, 5mm Allen key. Tend to pull it down as I go and get past their washer they put on. Just bring out in a second, like that. Now we can take that off completely. Put that to one side. Next we need to undo the actual retainer washer on the end of the drum. Go careful with this, just give it a bit of a tweak. Wind this out. We don't recommend to use impact tools on this job because you can end up bending a selector fork. Lift the whole lot off. Make sure your 2 dowels are still located. Sometimes they come out with it. So we've got our retainer plate we'll take off. Put that out of the equation now. We've got our new washer, which we put on the end of the bolt. So we'll clean the thread off, bit of brake cleaner, like so, and then up into the selector barrel itself. Get rid of the oil. Give it a blowout. And same with the bolt. I'm going to put a small double Loctite just on the end of the thread. The back plate shim is actually handed. You'll see the holes are offset. Look at the dowels, you can see they're offset that way. Put that on, like so. And then we'll put the star on. Once again, they're offset too, like so. Our bolt in the middle. Keep it held back while you do it up in case one of the dowels comes out. Nip that up, and now we've got to tighten it without putting any force on the selector fork. So you can feel it's just stopping there, and then a light nip, nothing more than that. Okay, we're going to stick the selector pawl in now. Good trick is to just get it started until it just runs into there, and then we've got to push the back heel of the spring in as we go. You can try and fly out as you do it up. Start doing it up until you feel it go quill bound. You can just pop it out, wind it on a bit more, push it into the gate. So again, these don't want to be massively tight, just go by feel. There we go. That's it. We've got both our shims in the back now, and that's to bring this gear further out to clear the enlarged head of the selector pawl. Drop it on, circlip on, like so. Make sure it's in. That's in all the way. Push your free wheels. Next, clutch basket. No shims on the back, no shims in there at all. Check you've got a small amount of end float. They've normally got about 1/2 mil of end float. Slide it on, like so. You can just rotate the idle gear to let it go in. Got the heavy thrust shim first. That's the one with the cutouts in it. It goes on and then turns partially across the spline, like so. And then our 3-legged number goes in, so, and stops it from turning. Now we can put the clutch hub in. Shim there, it's all in there. What I tend to do is get it on and then just keep rotating it bit by bit. It will go on like that. So we cleaned up the threads with some brake cleaner and the nut. So we're going to put a dab of Loctite on there. And we've cleaned also the washer and the nut. It says outside, so outside facing outside. Put the nut on. Now we've got a special tool to lock this, but we'll just, for this instance, we'll just use a bit of rubber and we'll buzz it up with the gun. I'm going to use my rubber like so. Pinch that up on there. So clutch is going in now. Actual springs, pull the back pressure plate forwards. Lay our springs on with that, like so. And then get them all lightly started. So we've got to do these up evenly. We've just got to check that the back pressure plate, there's no gap here. It's not sitting on the dog, so it should be no gap and pulled all the way forwards. There's obviously a gap at the back where the basket is, but between that back friction plate and the pressure plate. Put the thrust bearing in. Make sure it's all the way in, like that. Clutch cover can go on. Next, we've cleaned that up. You've got both the dowels in, top and bottom. And then we can put our clutch cover on, making sure that the clutch thrust hasn't fallen out. Got a shim on as well, don't forget that. Give it a bit of a wobble. There we go. Bolts, they're pretty much all different lengths. I've left that on so we know that that's that one. So we find the first longest bolt, top corner there. Second longest bolt, back here. Our third longest bolt, that one there. Then we've got 1 and 2 of actually the same here on the dowels. And the 2 short ones down the very bottom, there and there. Right, let's do these up. Not forgetting our 2 starter motor ones at the front here, which go in last. Get them started with this tool. So all to check on this side is that the clutch thrust is starting at the right point, which you've got pressure there. It's hitting the stop. And then we just check the gears. We're in neutral. So we've got first. Yep. Neutral. Can be tricky second. Second. Third. Fourth. Fifth. That's it.